Last year I was here talking about the initiation of the classical studio at NTNU and the foundation of Acanthus. Now you heard a lot more about Acanthus, which is great, and I am no longer a student. So this year I will be talking about my master thesis project, and actually I will be presenting the timeline of what actually happened from the master thesis project. So we will be talking about the National Museum in Oslo, quite new building, and we can start by just introducing it and what it is and what the problem is. So first, let's start with 3 quick facts. This is how it looks, one of a pretty nice picture of it actually. It is the largest and heaviest concrete mass in mainland Norway, with the exception of infrastructure such as tunnels and bridges. It is the single most expensive completed building in Norway. And finally, upon completion, it was already too small to fit the program it was designed to contain. And the program it was designed to contain is this. So it is actually a collection of 5 different collections, or rather even whole museums under one roof. And it was the largest cultural building project in Norwegian history. So unfortunately, despite all this, it gained quite a lot of negative press upon completion. I'm going to translate this for you quickly. The building is ugly. We're saying it like it is. We have received a gray, sad and large block thrown up into our faces. The National Museum as a symptom. Dark clouds surround the new National Museum. The debate of the new building's appearance is a symptom of a deeper crisis in the Norwegian construction industry. The future is going to hate our choices. And now this one is written by one of the founders of the Norwegian architectural uprising. And shortly after, and actually also before this was written, the architectural uprising started making memes about the new Norwegian National Museum. I'm not going to comment too much on this, but I think they're a little bit funny. So, yeah, and then on the 24th of November 2022, it was by popular vote decided as the ugliest new building of the year, with 22% of 11,000 votes. So how could this happen? The architect had almost infinite budget. He had almost infinite creative freedom, with having gained freedom from several quite important laws, including fire safety and escape rules. And yet the result was not quite what we would have expected it to be. So I'm going just quickly to talk about statistics now and popularity, what it is and why it's relevant to this. This is a visualization of data from Response Analyse. It's a Norwegian polling organization. And summarized, I don't have so much time, so I'm just going to skip through this quickly. 68% of the people polled who knew about the National Museum actively disliked the building. The architect replied to both the award by the architectural uprising and to this, saying that 2,400 anonymous people have voted. That's 0.05% of the population of 5 million. If the remaining 99.95% like the museum, I'm more than satisfied. I don't think he knows how statistics works, but he's not here to defend himself. So this is a poll, the Harris poll, as was presented previously also. I think it's quite interesting when we compare it to what we have seen, because the numbers are quite similar. So this is, it was also presented to us last year by Justin Schuba from the National Civic Arts Society. And we also have this poll that Robert Adam presented to us earlier this day with the YouGov poll, where 77% of the people asked also preferred traditional structures of similar quality. And this one is an informal questionnaire made by the NRK, the National Broadcasting Corporation of Norway, following a debate about beauty and ugliness in architecture, where 87% of 84,000 votes preferred traditional architecture. So, looking at all of these numbers, I thought this is quite interesting. If the numbers are this strong, does it mean we can also create new buildings that look traditional, that have the same effect psychologically on people as old buildings that seem to be out-competing newer buildings in the polls? So my pilot project was this, and I did it in parallel with my master thesis, it's a proof of concept mainly. And I was asked to do a counter-proposal to this office building in Lillehammer. It's planned by Bane Nor, the National Railroad company in a way. I'm not going to talk so much about it, but my counter-proposal that I presented in the city of Lillehammer was this. I think the reception was quite pleasant. I talked to a lot of very nice people in Lillehammer, and it also was posted in the public newspaper. Here are a few more pictures from that project. And then finally, these are the results. They put up a poll in the local newspaper, and we got I received exactly the results I hoped for in my wildest dreams. 83% of the people preferred this option. Of course, it's quite crude. It's very Oslo-esque, perhaps, maybe not so Lillehammer, although many of the details are like picked out from the city. Now, if we continue, this was then proof for me that if I did a new traditional building, it could give the same enthusiasm for architecture as an older building could potentially. So when we then step into the National Museum, the project that the architect did was mainly the front of house. The back of house is a large project made by several engineers, such as Rambøll Ingeniørgruppe and so on. So I decided to limit myself to the same program so it would be a fair comparison. Here is how it sits in the site. This is my proposal. You can already see the dome there in the middle, so it's a little bit of a sneak peek. It sits right next to Oslo Townhouse over there, this block right here. And then down here is Aker Brygge, and this is the ocean. So it's a very nice spot, quite in the center of Oslo. And in front of it is this, the Nobel Peace Center. And also this, the development house. They're very nice neo-Romanesque historicist buildings. And this is the building that exists there now. And this is the building that I proposed as an option. Thanks. So one of the goals of the whole project was to make it more pleasant. I remember one of the people I interviewed as part of the process was a sculptor called Merete Bødker, who had been dragging this bronze sculpture on this trolley down this long, no, actually on this side, down this long facade through rain and wind, and she had nowhere to hide, and it was pouring down on her. So one of my goals was to, make a nice arcade so that people could actually feel a little bit more protected in the Norwegian weather, and then it would also serve to open up some functions along this nice piazza behind the Nobel Peace Center and the development building. So you can see here, this is the ground floor plan. The functions in the back here are public functions. I'm not going to go too deep into that. We'll just quickly skip through the plan drawings. So this is the main exhibition floor. It's a very classical plan with large pochets with technical installations and so on, large atriums, and then a central main space. So it has a quite strong hierarchy. So, here are how all the different collections of the National Museum can fit into the building. The colors are a little off. Yeah. And then, this is the second floor where you have more open spaces to accommodate for contemporary art collections. They often require larger spaces and often change of program and so on. And finally, the office floor, where you have now the current building has a large rectangle in the north with offices that have then been spread out across the whole site. Here is a watercolored section of the building. You can see here, this here is the arcade that we saw. You walk in through the reception, up a staircase, and this is the main hall from which you can walk out into the whole rest of the museum. And in the back you have the sculpture gallery and so forth. Yeah. So this is the vestibule, a large space where you can see activity going up all the way through the museum. The sculptural gallery and the back facade with a curved portico. And quite a richness in the ceilings and also amphitheater in a Romanesque hall underneath. Here is the front facade facing the Piazzetta and the Nobel Peace Center. You can see these drawings are handmade, and this one took me 2.5 months. But I think it is worthwhile, because when you design by hand in this way, you also get to fix all of the mistakes that you make when you design digitally, because you can sense that, oh, this line is a little bit wrong. Let's correct it. And when you keep designing like this, you end up with much more satisfactory results. Here is just a little zoomed in view of this side pavilion, which houses a sculptural garden where today the National Museum has a library. And the side facade and the back facade, they are digitally made. I didn't have time to paint all of it. So I'm just showing some quick pictures of the process. I think I'm almost out of time, right? So I'll just, so I'll just skip quickly through it. So here's me painting the section. So the aftermath was also quite interesting because this is where the fun actually starts. So I'll have to steal a few minutes. So this article was written quite soon after the project was finished, where the Avisa Oslo made a report about it, and they had, well, the reception was quite divided, I would say. The public was quite positive, and then you had some very vocal critics, such as this man, James Dove Lorentzen, who we have spoken to since, and he is far more positive now, actually. He's a quite pleasant person to speak to, but he was very negative to the project initially. This is a new poll. This is quite recent. So it doesn't seem like the building has grown on the people. It was also from Avisa Oslo. And it also sparked a debate about public buildings and how they can be shaped. And then also it has sort of helped maybe a little bit in removing this dogma that you have to be supporting Donald Trump to like classical architecture, which is a little bit absurd because that's not a relevant problem in Norway, I would say, right? And then in the end, this is the final result, the number I was looking for from the beginning. Can you actually make a new classical museum to replace a very expensive large public building? And the result is more or less what I hoped it would be. So in the end, I think it was a success. Thank you.